In the middle of space, where stars shine like tiny lights in a giant black sky, something strange was floating. It wasn't moving. It didn't look like anything anyone had seen before. Just a big, silent object drifting through the emptiness, all alone. This part of space was quiet. No planets nearby. No stars close enough to warm it. Just cold, dark space and this mysterious ship that looked like it had been there for a very long time. The Zenari Dominion, a powerful alien race known across the galaxy for their science and exploration, sent one of their ships to check it out. Their scout vessel, called Vaethra, was built to find things no one else had seen. They were curious by nature, but also careful. They knew space could hide dangers no one expected. When the Vaethra picked up the signal from the unknown object, they thought it might be another piece of space junk. Maybe a broken-down human spaceship? Earth was new to space travel, and their ships weren't very advanced yet. Sometimes they lost control and just floated away. But as they got closer, the crew started to feel something wasn't right. "This doesn't look like a normal ship," said the lead scientist, staring at the screen. "It's too clean, too perfect. Maybe it's not human," another officer whispered. They moved even closer, scanning the ship with powerful sensors. The results came back slowly, line by line. "No signs of life," said the science officer after checking the data. "No heat. No movement. No power. It looks empty." "So we go inside," said the commander. That was how the Zenari worked. If a ship was found floating and dead, they checked it out. Sometimes they found treasure. Sometimes they found traps. But always, they learned something. A small team got ready. 2 scientists and a security officer climbed into a docking pod. With a low hum, the pod left the Vaethra and flew silently toward the strange ship. As they got near, they saw more details. The surface was smooth, almost glowing under the starlight. Strange symbols were carved into the metal, lines and shapes that didn't match any known language. "Weird," said one of the scientists. "Looks like writing, but I don't recognize it." They attached the pod to the side of the ship. With a hiss, the airlock opened. Inside, it was dark. They turned on their lights. Long halls stretched ahead. Everything looked untouched. Not dusty or broken, just quiet. Like someone had left in a hurry and never came back. The security officer walked ahead, scanning the walls. "This material isn't in our database," he said. "It's not like anything we've seen before." The scientist looked around. Some rooms were open. One looked like a lab. Another had chairs facing a blank screen. Another room had strange machines hanging from the ceiling. "This tech looks old," said one of them, "but it's built better than most stuff humans use." They kept walking deeper into the ship. The corridors were wide, made for tall beings. The ceilings arched above them like in an ancient temple buried beneath time. They reached what looked like the main control room. It was huge. A platform stood in the center, surrounded by glowing panels and buttons. Some lights flickered weakly, like they were trying to come back to life. One scientist touched a button. Nothing happened. He tried again. Still nothing. "It's dead," he said. "No power at all." "But then why does everything still look so good?" asked the other. "Why hasn't time eaten it up?" "Good question." Back on the Vaethra, the commander waited for news. "What do you see?" he asked over the comms. "It's definitely not just a human ship," came the reply. "There are things here we don't understand, but we'll keep looking." The commander nodded. "Be careful. We don't know what we're dealing with." Inside the strange ship, the team continued exploring. They checked every room they could find. No bodies, no logs, no records. Just silence. And then one of them found something unusual. Deep in the back of the ship, behind a locked door, was a small chamber. Inside, there were containers, like sleeping pods, lined along the walls. Each one held something inside. They looked like people, frozen in place, eyes closed, skin pale, but not human. These beings were tall, with long limbs and slender faces. Their skin had a bluish tint. Their clothes were tight-fitting and covered in soft lights. "They're not dead," whispered one of the scientists. He looked closer. "They're asleep." The realization hit like thunder. This wasn't just a ship, it was carrying passengers, and they were still alive. Somewhere deep within the frozen chambers, these beings were waiting. For what? No one knew. The team backed away slowly. Suddenly, the lights in the corridor flickered. Once. Twice. Then they stayed on. The ship, which had felt completely dead moments ago, was waking up. A low hum began to echo through the halls. Something was happening. "Report back to the pod," the commander ordered urgently. "Now." The team turned and ran. Behind them, the ship creaked and groaned like a giant waking from a long sleep. They reached the airlock just as the inner lights grew brighter. The door closed behind them with a loud thud. They climbed into the pod and shot back toward the Vaithra. On the bridge, the commander stared at the screen. "Did you activate something?" he asked. "I don't think so," came the nervous reply. "But I think it activated itself." The commander turned to the science officer. "Run another scan," he said. "Now." The scanner blinked to life. This time the results were different, power levels rising, internal systems online, and most disturbing of all, life signs, not just the ones in the pods. Something else. Something watching, from somewhere deep inside the ship. The Zenari stared at the screen. Their hearts pounded, because now they understood. This wasn't just a ship, and it wasn't just sleeping. It was waiting. And now, it was awake. Back on the Vaithra, silence filled the command deck. No one spoke. All eyes were locked on the scanner screen. The readings were changing fast. Power levels inside the strange ship were rising. Systems that had been dead for who knows how long were now coming online. And something else, something even more unsettling, was showing up clearly on the scan. Life signs. Not just the frozen beings in the pods. Something else was alive. Something deep inside the ship. The commander's fingers tightened around the armrest of his chair. His voice was low but sharp. "Run another scan, full internal sweep." The science officer worked quickly, hands moving over the controls. Lights blinked. Data streamed across the screen in lines of glowing text. Then he froze. "I don't believe this," he whispered. "What?" the commander demanded. "There are movements," the officer said slowly. "Inside the ship. Not random, they're structured, like someone is walking or watching." A chill ran through the room. On the docking pod's monitor, the three explorers could be seen climbing back aboard. Their faces were pale, their breathing heavy. "Commander," came the voice of the lead scientist over the comms. "We didn't touch anything major, we swear. But the moment we found those sleeping pods, everything changed." The commander looked at the screen again. The alien ship wasn't just waking up, it was responding. "Get back to the Vaithra now," he ordered. The docking pod fired its thrusters and shot away from the mysterious vessel. As it moved farther into open space, the crew watched the silent ship grow smaller on their screens. But it didn't stay silent for long. Without warning, a pulse of energy rippled out from the ship like a wave in water. It passed right through the Vaithra. For a second, all the lights flickered. Instruments buzzed. Screens went black, then returned. Then everything went quiet again. "What was that?" someone asked. No one answered. Everyone was staring at the scanner. The alien ship was now fully active. Its systems were running at full speed. Panels lit up along its hull. Doors opened and closed by themselves. Inside, something was moving. But worse than that, it was sending a signal. "Sir!" shouted the communications officer. "We've got a transmission. It's not directed at us. It's going out across space." "How far?" the commander asked. "We don't know yet," the officer replied. "But if it's broadcasting in all directions, then every civilization within range will pick it up. That meant millions of light years, hundreds of planets, countless species." Someone had just pressed a button that sent a message to the entire galaxy, and no one knew what it said. The commander stood up. "Seal off this sector. I want a full lockdown. No ships in or out until we understand what's happening." The bridge crew sprang into action. Meanwhile, the lead scientist sat quietly in the corner of the lab, staring at his data pad. He had brought something back from the ship, a small device he had picked up near one of the control panels. It was round, smooth, and warm to the touch. When he first grabbed it, nothing happened. Now, though, as the ship's systems activated, the device began to glow faintly. He didn't tell anyone. Back on the alien vessel, things were getting stranger. Deep inside the main chamber where the sleeping beings still floated in their pods, a soft hum filled the air. One by one, the pods began to blink. Lights turned on. Lines of data scrolled across tiny screens built into the glass. One pod gave a sudden jolt, then another, then a third. Something was waking up, and it wasn't alone. Back on the Vaethra, the science officer was reviewing the scans again when he noticed something new. "There's something else inside the ship," he said. "It's not organic, it's not biological life, it's artificial." "You mean AI?" the commander asked. "More than that," the officer replied. "It's aware. It's connected to everything. That ship isn't just a ship anymore. It's thinking." Silence fell again. An intelligent ship. A vessel that could think for itself. That could send messages across space. What was it trying to say, and who was listening? Suddenly, the security officer pointed at the screen. "Look." A new reading had appeared. Something was leaving the alien ship. Not a physical object. Not a weapon. A signal, but different this time, more focused, more powerful. It was heading straight for the Vaethra. "Shields up," the commander shouted, but it was too late. The pulse hit the Vaethra like a thunderclap. Lights flashed, alarms blared, systems crashed and rebooted in seconds. People staggered, some fell. The ship shook as if caught in a storm. Then, just as suddenly everything stopped. "What happened?" the commander asked, pulling himself upright. The science officer checked his console. "We were scanned." "Scanned? By what?" "The ship," the officer said, eyes wide. "It scanned us like we scanned it." There was a long pause. "That thing, it's not just thinking," the officer continued. "It's learning." From somewhere deep in the lab, a low beeping sound started. The lead scientist jumped to his feet. He looked down at the device in his hand. It was beeping faster now. The glow brighter. He tried to turn it off, but it wouldn't respond. Then, without warning, the device projected a hologram into the air. It was a symbol, a shape made of lines and curves. It rotated slowly, casting shadows across the walls. No one recognized it except one person. The science officer stared at it with wide eyes. "I've seen that before." Everyone turned to him. "In what?" someone asked. "In an old Zanari archive," he said. "This symbol, it belongs to a race we thought was extinct. An ancient civilization that disappeared thousands of years ago." The room grew colder. If this symbol was real, then the ship wasn't just old, it was ancient, and whoever built it had vanished from history. Until now. Back on the alien ship, the pods kept blinking. The hum grew louder, the lights brighter. One pod cracked, then another. Glass shattered. Figures stepped out, tall, slender, eyes glowing faintly blue. They looked around, confused at first. Then they saw the control panel. One of them reached out and touched it. The ship responded instantly. Lights flared, engines roared. The vessel began to move. The sleeping ones were awake, and they were not happy. Back on the Vaethra, the commander stared at the alien ship through the main window. It was turning. Slowly, silently, it was pointing its front end toward them. Like it was aiming. "Prepare to retreat," the commander said. But before they could move, the alien ship fired not a weapon, not a missile, a beam of pure energy. It struck the Vaethra's systems and shut them down completely. Engines died. Lights went out. Controls locked. They were helpless. The commander gripped the edge of his seat. "We need answers," he said. "Now." But no one had them. Outside, the alien ship hovered like a predator watching its prey. Inside, the newly awakened beings studied their surroundings. And somewhere deep in the Xenari lab, the glowing device kept beeping, waiting, watching, thinking. Because now, the universe had changed, and the real danger was only beginning. The Vaethra floated silently in space, its engines dead, its lights dim. The alien ship had struck it with something powerful, something not like any weapon the Xenari had ever seen. It wasn't destruction, it was control. Inside the command deck, panic was rising. Alarms were silent now, but the fear in every crew member's eyes said everything. "Status report," the commander shouted. The science officer stared at his screen. "We've lost all power to engines and weapons. Life support is still running, but barely." The communications officer shook his head. "No signal out. We're cut off from the rest of the fleet." The commander stood up slowly. His voice was calm, but his fists were clenched. "We are not alone," he said, "and we are not in control anymore." Back in the lab, the lead scientist was still staring at the glowing device in his hands. It pulsed like a heartbeat, sending soft light across the walls. The hologram it had projected earlier still hung in the air, rotating slowly like it was waiting for someone to understand it. "I think this thing is connected to the ship," he whispered. The security officer turned to him sharply. "You brought something back? Without telling anyone?" "I didn't know what it was." The scientist shot back. "I thought it was just a piece of tech." But now it was clear. It wasn't just a piece of tech. It was part of the ship, a key, a message, or maybe even a mind. Suddenly the hologram changed. The ancient symbol twisted and shifted, breaking apart into smaller pieces that rearranged themselves into something new. A face, not human, not Xenari. Tall, thin, with glowing eyes and sharp features, it blinked. Then it spoke. Its voice was deep, slow, and filled with meaning. "You have awakened us." The scientist dropped the device. Everyone in the room froze. The voice continued. "We were lost, forgotten, buried in silence, but you found us, you woke us." The security officer stepped forward. Who are you?" The face tilted slightly as if studying them. "We are the last of the Virex," it said. "Once rulers of stars, now only echoes." The scientist swallowed hard. "What happened to your people?" The face paused, as though remembering something painful. "We fought a war," it said finally. "A war that destroyed our worlds. To save ourselves, we built the vault ship. We placed our minds inside it, our memories, our knowledge. And we slept, hoping one day someone would find us." The scientist looked around. "So, you're not really alive?" "I am here," the face replied. "Is that not life enough?" Outside, the alien ship, the vault ship, hovered silently, watching the Vaethra. Inside, the newly awakened Virex walked through the halls like ghosts returning home. One of them stood in the main control room. Her skin glowed faintly blue. Her long fingers moved across the panels with perfect memory, waking systems that hadn't been touched in thousands of years. She turned to another Virex beside her. "The others must wake," she said. "We cannot wait any longer." The other nodded. "The galaxy has changed. We do not know who rules now." "And yet," she said, looking at the screen showing the Vaethra, "someone has already come for us." Back on the Vaethra, the commander watched the alien ship closely. "We need to move," he said, "now." "But we can't fly," the pilot reminded him. "Engines are down, weapons are offline, we're stuck." The commander turned to the science officer. "Can we shut down whatever connection they've made with our systems?" The officer looked nervous. "Maybe, if we can find the source." The commander gave a short nod. "Find it, fast." In the lab, the scientist was still holding the device. The hologram of the Virex leader flickered again. "We did not mean to harm you," the voice said. "We were confused, disoriented. When we woke, we saw danger." The scientist took a breath. "You shut down our ship." "We wanted to understand," the voice replied. "To communicate," the security officer stepped forward. Well, now you're communicating. What do you want from us? The face tilted again. Freedom. That word hit everyone like a thunderclap. We were trapped in sleep, the voice continued, buried in silence. Now we are awake. We wish to return to the stars. The scientist looked at the others. You don't understand. This changes everything. The commander's voice came over the comms. Report to the bridge, now. Minutes. Later the team stood before the commander. The hologram of the Virex leader played on a small screen. This is real, the science officer said. They're not invaders, they're survivors. The commander studied the image carefully. And what happens now? They want to rejoin the galaxy, the officer said. But they don't know what's changed. They don't know who's in charge now. The commander crossed his arms. And if they try to take control? The scientist shook his head. They haven't shown any sign of aggression since the first pulse. They just want to be free. Silence filled the room. Then the commander spoke. We need to contact the Dominion. This is bigger than just us. The communications officer nodded. If we can get our systems back online. Just then, the lights flickered. Then came a low hum. Engines roared to life. Power surged through the ship. The alien vessel had released its hold. On the screen, the Virex leader's face appeared once more. We have restored your systems, she said, as a gesture of peace. The commander looked at the screen. Why? The Virex woman smiled slightly. Because we remember what it means to be strangers in a strange place. The commander hesitated. Then he gave a single nod. Very well, he said. Let's talk. Outside, the two ships floated together in the dark. One ancient, one modern, one full of questions, one full of answers. And somewhere far away across the galaxy, the signal sent by the vault ship was still traveling. Reaching planets. Reaching ears, some friendly, some not, because now the Virex were back, and the universe would never be the same. Quen 3235BA22B absolutely. Here's part 4. Expanded into a 1,200-word story in simple, engaging English. No headings, just smooth storytelling that keeps readers hooked from start to finish. The signal had traveled farther than anyone expected. It moved through space like ripples in water, spreading across stars and planets, reaching civilizations both peaceful and powerful. Some received it as a warning, others as an invitation, and some as a chance to rise. Back on the Vaethra, the commander stood at the center of the command deck, watching the alien ship float silently beside them. The Virex had restored their systems, but the Zenari still didn't know what to make of them. They weren't hostile, not anymore, but they were ancient, powerful, and they carried knowledge that could change everything. Send a message to the Dominion, the commander ordered. We need to report this immediately. The communications officer nodded and began typing, but before the message could be sent, the screen blinked. Incoming transmission. Everyone turned. It wasn't from the Dominion. It was from another ship. One the Vaethra didn't recognize. A sleek, dark vessel with sharp edges and glowing red lights. Along its hull, the voice that came through was cold and clear. This is Commander Korak of the Ralvex Armada. You are standing near a Class Omega threat. Step aside. We will take control. The commander's jaw tightened. This is Captain Valen of the Vaethra. That ship belongs to the Virex. They are not hostile. There was a pause. Then laughter. You don't understand what you found, Korak said. The Virex were feared across the galaxy. Their technology could destroy entire star systems. If they're awake, they must be contained. Captain Valen looked at the Virex leader on the screen. She remained calm, her glowing eyes locked on the new threat. We do not wish for war, she said, speaking directly into the channel. But we will not be caged again. Korak's voice turned sharp. Then prepare for battle. The transmission ended. Outside, the Ralvex ship turned toward them, weapons powered up. Alarms blared across the Vaethra. They're locking weapons, the science officer shouted. Captain Valen didn't hesitate. Evasive maneuvers. The Vaethra twisted, To the side, just as a beam of red energy shot past, missing by seconds. The Virex ship reacted instantly. Lights flared along its hull. Panels lit up. From deep within its core, something awakened. A shield. A shimmering wall of energy formed around the ship in a flash, blocking the next blast from the Ralvex vessel. Then, without warning, the Virex ship fired back. Not with weapons. With sound. A deep, vibrating pulse spread outward, hitting the Ralvex ship like a wave. Its systems flickered. Lights dimmed. Engines sputtered. "What was that?" someone on the Vaethra asked. The science officer checked his readings. "It's not a weapon, it's a signal, like a command." Captain Vaylon frowned. "A command to what?" Before anyone could answer, the Ralvex ship shuddered. Its weapons powered down. Its engines stopped. It floated, helpless. The Virex had taken control. Inside the alien ship, the Virex leader turned to her people. "We did not come to fight," she said, "but we will not be controlled again." Back on Earth, far from the battle unfolding in deep space, a small group of scientists stared at their monitors in shock. They had picked up the signal. Fragments of data, strange symbols, lines of code. No one recognized. But one thing was clear. Someone had discovered something ancient, something powerful. And now it was awake. Dr. Elena Marlowe, a lead researcher at the Global Space Institute, leaned closer to her screen. "This isn't just a signal," she whispered. "It's a message." Her assistant looked confused. "From who?" "No idea," she said. "But if we can decode it, maybe we can find out." Meanwhile, across the planet, other groups were seeing the same thing. Hackers, military leaders, rogue scientists, all picking up pieces of the puzzle. Some wanted to learn, others wanted to use it, and a few wanted to stop it. Because power, like this, didn't stay hidden for long. Back in space, the Ralvex ship remained motionless. Captain Valen turned to the Virex leader. "You shut them down. Just like that." She nodded. "Their systems obeyed our command. We did not harm them." "But you could have," he said carefully. She met his gaze. "Yes, we could have." Silence filled the room. Then the science officer spoke. "Sir, I'm getting more signals, dozens of them." Captain Vaylon turned. "From where?" "All over the galaxy," the officer said. "Other ships, other civilizations. They all picked up the Virex signal. Some were asking questions, others were sending fleets. One message repeated across dozens of channels. Find the vault ship. And suddenly the Vaethra wasn't alone anymore. Far away, a fleet of ships dropped out of hyperspace. Then another. Then more. They came from different worlds, different species, some curious, some afraid. Some ready for war. The Vaethra was now in the middle of something huge. Captain Valen looked at the Virex leader. "You've started something," he said. She didn't look surprised. "We always knew this would happen." He took a breath. "Then, tell me what happens next." She stepped forward, her glowing eyes full of ancient wisdom. "We return," she said, "to the stars." Outside, the sky was filling with ships, some friendly, some not. And somewhere far beyond the edge of known space, the vault ship pulsed again, sending out another message, calling to something else. Something older. Something waiting. Because now the Virex were back, and they weren't the only ones waking up. The sky above the Vaethra was now filled with ships. Dozens of them. Hundreds, maybe. They came from every corner of the galaxy. Some peaceful, some armed, all curious about the ancient ship that had just returned from silence. The Virex watched from their floating vault ship, calm but ready. Their leader stood in the main chamber, her glowing eyes fixed on the screen showing all the newcomers. She didn't look afraid. She looked like someone who had seen this moment coming for a very long time. "This is what we feared," she said quietly. Behind her, another Virex stepped forward. "We are not alone anymore. The galaxy has changed." It had. Thousands of years ago, before they went into sleep, the Virex had ruled stars. They had built wonders. They had fought wars. And then, one final war, had nearly destroyed everything. To survive, they had hidden themselves away in the vault ship, hoping one day they could return. Now that day had come, but the universe wasn't waiting with open arms. From the largest ship in the crowd, a message came through. "This is Commander Joreth of the Galactic Union. You are ordered to power down your systems and prepare for inspection. We mean no harm, but we must understand what you are." Captain Valen of the Vaethra turned to the Virex leader. "You have a choice. You can show them who you are, or you can disappear again." She looked at him, her expression unreadable. "We did not wake to hide," she said finally. "Let them see us." Back on Earth, Dr. Elena Marlowe sat in front of her monitor, eyes wide as more data streamed in. Her team had managed to decode parts of the signal sent by the Virex. "It's not just a message," she whispered. "It's a history." Her assistant leaned closer. "What kind of history?" "A warning," she said. "They weren't just hiding. They were protecting something." "What?" She hesitated. "Not sure yet. But it's big." Meanwhile, in deep space, the Virex began to move. Their ship rotated slowly, its long dormant engines humming with life. Panels lit up across its surface. Symbols glowed brighter. And then, for the first time in thousands of years, the vault ship spoke, not to one species, but to all. Across every channel, in every language known to the galaxy, the message played, "We are the Virex. We were once rulers of stars. We were once destroyers of worlds. We slept to protect what remained. Now we return, not to rule, not to fight, but to remember." Silence followed. Then chaos. Some ships cheered, others raised weapons, a few turned and fled. Commander Joreth's voice came back over the comms. "This changes everything. We need to talk." Captain Valen nodded. "Agreed." On board the Vaethra, preparations began. A meeting would take place. Leaders from across the galaxy would gather. For the first time in history, every major civilization would sit together, humans, Zenari, Ralvex, and others, to decide what to do with the Virex and what to do with the knowledge they carried. Because the Virex weren't just survivors. They were keepers of secrets so powerful they had once torn the galaxy apart. Back on Earth, government scrambled. Military leaders held secret meetings. Some wanted to reach out to the Virex. Others wanted to stop them before they reached Earth. Dr. Marlowe watched it all unfold from her lab. "They're not the threat," she told her team. "The thing they were hiding, that's the real danger." One of her assistants frowned. "What if they decide to use it again?" She shook her head. "They wouldn't have woken up if they still believed in destruction." Outside, the world buzzed with news. People argued online. Some saw the Virex as gods, others as monsters. But everyone agreed on one thing. The universe had changed forever. In space, the meeting began. Representatives from dozens of civilizations gathered aboard a neutral station near the edge of known space. Tension filled the air. No one knew what to expect. When the Virex arrived, they walked tall and silent. Their glowing eyes showed no fear, only memory. Their leader stepped forward. "We do not come to claim anything," she said. "We come to warn." Commander Joreth asked the question everyone wanted answered. "Warn us about what?" She looked around the room, at every face watching her. "There is something older than us," she said. "Something buried, something locked away. We sealed it, we thought." A heavy silence fell. "Why tell us this now?" Joreth asked. "Because the seal is weakening." Gasps filled the room. "The signal we sent," she continued, "was not just to find allies. It was to call those who might help us hold the darkness back." Captain Valen stepped forward. "What darkness?" The Virex leader met his gaze. "A force that does not think, does not feel, only consumes." Back in space, far beyond the meeting, the vault ship pulsed again. Deep inside, something stirred. Something old, something hungry, and somewhere, in the darkest corner of the galaxy, a shadow moved. The Virex had warned them. But would anyone listen? In time? Because now the universe faced a new enemy, not war between stars, but something far worse, something that had waited for the Virex to wake. So it could wake too. And this time, no one would be able to stop it.